Hey guys, I wanted to share an fSpy for Maya script that I set up. If you don't already know what fSpy is, it's an open source standalone software to camera match a still image. Now I believe the script I have set up is the most comprehensive setup there is when it comes to Maya. So I'm not going to go too deep of a dive into how fSpy works. The overlying idea is you can select these points and you can place them on straight edges of the image. Now you'll notice I have blue lines that are converging towards the right side, and I have these red lines converging to the left side. You need to find some converging lines, and you can hold shift to get more precise positioning. Over at the top left, you can define whether or not your image is a 1-point perspective, a 2-point perspective, or you can come down here to principal points and change to a 3-point perspective. In this case, I'm sticking with a 2-point, so I'm going to keep that on image midpoint. Next down the list, these vanishing points. This helps define what directions your axes go in. In my case, since I'm working with Maya, I want Y up or green. Next down on the list is reference distance. Now the idea with this is you can use it to measure something in the scene, and this will allow you to get a more precise position of the camera. Now I don't actually know what the actual measurement of this scene file is, so what I'm deciding that this is a king size bed, and so I put this line right up here, and this comes out to 76 inches. You can use this little drop down to change what measurement you want to do, and then type in what that measurement can be, and make sure you hit enter after you plug it in. Towards the bottom, there is 3D guide, and this can help you better test your image. So let's say I click box, I can drag this around, and now I can start dragging the corners of this box on any straight lines to check if the image looks correct. So notice how all these lines are converging the way they should. Besides box, there are grids, and you can check your image using this. Lastly, over on the far right, if you happen to have this camera information, like what type of camera it was used to shoot the image, you can define it here, as well as set your sensor width and height. I don't actually know the information for this image, so I'm just choosing to leave it as default, which will still come out pretty darn accurate. Now, the one mistake I've seen people use when they are trying to use fSpy is they don't place this grid on the ground plane. The way this manipulator works is right here at the very center, that's actually going to define your origin points in your scene file. Since this defines your origin point, that is also your ground point. So for something like this, I would want to make sure this point is right here on the ground. If you end up having this somewhere up here, for instance, when you export, the camera is now actually below the ground. If you don't get accurate measurements, let's say I drag this super small like so and place it over here, then you won't get an accurate position for the camera. I'm actually going to go ahead and save it just like this, and I'm going to switch over to Maya and show you what happens. Over in Maya, I do already have a properly scaled king size mattress. The way I did this is I came over here to preferences, went over to settings, I changed this to inches, and then I created a cube and set those to be 76 inches wide by 80 inches long. If I come over here and click my fSpy script, I'm going to go ahead and click browse, and I'm going to go ahead and click this fSpy file. Now, before I run it, I just want to show what is currently in this folder. Notice how I have these two fSpy files, but I don't actually have any images. The one up here is my correct one that I already have positioned and scaled correctly, and the one right here is the one that I intentionally messed up. I'm going to go ahead and run the messed up one, hit open, and hit create camera. Now I'll zoom out, and I'll change this side to look through the camera. Now, if I go ahead and select this mattress over here, it happens to be behind the image plane, but notice how this point is landing right there, which is the exact same point that's landing right there. If I go ahead and drag this upwards and hit save, and then decide to rerun the script, what you'll see happen is I delete this old camera and view through the new one. Notice how now the ground plane is actually up there because the camera is now below the ground. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that camera, and I'll load in the correct file. I'm going to click fSpy, hit browse, and click this one that I've already set up. Hit open, hit create camera. When I view through here, this one has a correct positioned camera. So right now this mattress is sitting perfectly at the origin. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and start positioning this geometry. I'm just going to translate that mattress over a little bit, and I'm kind of looking at this shadow to match to, as well as I can scale it down to match the height of the frame. I'll go ahead and duplicate this one time, and this will be the actual mattress, and I'll scale the frame up just a little bit because it looks like it's slightly larger than the mattress. I'll go ahead and create a ground plane, and I'll start setting up that next. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these subdivisions, and I'm going to assume that this mattress is right against the wall. So maybe I'll put it right there, and I'll go ahead and select these two walls and do an extrude straight up. Now I'll go back and forth a little bit, trying to line up the wall, and I'm constantly looking through the camera to make sure I'm going just the right height. So maybe right about there. Now, lastly, if I go ahead and bring over the hypershade, you'll actually notice something that gets generated is the shader that says bedroom 01 IN for inch projection matte. The way this naming is coming from is it's actually the name of fSpy file. All of these nodes is going to get the name of this file. You'll also notice a PNG file right here. This is the image that got generated when the camera got created. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to select this geometry, and I'm going to assign this material by right-clicking, going to Assign Existing Material, and selecting this Bedroom 01 Matte. Now, if I look at this, notice how this shader is actually lined up perfect with this, and I can just as quickly start duplicating some geometry around. Gonna go ahead and line up to this little nightstand, and at this point, I can just start looking at this image right here. So I'm kind of looking at ground, scale this up a little bit, right about there. And I just have to keep positioning the same cube, duplicating it. And the reference point I'm always looking at is I'm looking at right where it touches the ground. So getting that little corner right there. Go ahead and grab this face, translate it back. And grab this right here, translate it to the side. And in just a matter of moments, you start blocking out your entire scene.